Sunset Time by Albiacorn. Chapter 18. Vesper Radiance Part 2. The throne room consisted of only two ponies. Celestia on her throne, and Sunset at the foot of the dais. The guards were dismissed, and the evening court had been cancelled. Celestia had not looked at Sunset since her return from taking care of Canaans. Even now her eyes were closed. A surrounding dark cloud of negative emotions covered her face, eclipsing the radiant sun. Sunset Shimmer, she said in an iron voice, as Princess Cadance is currently no condition to speak, you will explain to me what happened. Sunset flinched, not at hearing about Cadance, but at the absence of all warmth for Celestia's voice. I happened to be in the library while Cadance was practicing her magic. She wanted to see if she could undo any of the spells in the restricted door for practice. I'm sorry, Mother, I should have tried harder to stop her. There was a prolonged pause. If you think your manipulation of the truth will work on me, you are sadly mistaken. I've forgiven your past grievances, but not today. Only the truly desperate or foolish would try to get into that room, and Cadance is neither. You knew full well the level of spells that surround that door. Yes, but I can't know exactly what. That is no excuse! Celestia finally opened her eyes, burning Sunset's soul with righteous flames. I knew the slightest possibility existed you might try regardless, but never did I suspect you would manipulate another and to pick Cadance of full ponies. The combined magic from all those spells that attacked Cadance. Sunset, if I had not arrived when I did, that magic could have inflicted irreparable damage to her, both physically and mentally. Would have served her right, Sunset thought. Something hot began to boil up inside her. Seeing as you only care about her, she held her tongue, however, deferring her effort to keep her face neutral. Celestia leaned forward on her throne. What were you thinking? She whispered hostily. I was thinking I wanted to be an alicorn, Sunset responded in an equally harsh whisper. I was thinking that this was the final push I needed to ascend to princesshood. I know almost every form of magic except in the restricted section. I'm so close. So very close. Close to the destiny you promised me, but you keep holding me back. Sunset panted hard. Liquid of magma flowed through her heart. Chest burning. I've worked so hard. I've worked for so long. Her face cracked as she bared her teeth. The magma running through her whole body. I've given everything to you, but you won't make me a princess. Why? Because you're not ready. Celestia stood from her throne. You still fail to grasp the most important lesson I've tried to teach you. Your actions today have served to not only prove you have a very long way to go, even if you are so worthy of such a title. If, Sunset stamped the tooth, I am worthy. I know almost everything about magic. I know this kingdom runs. I know how to handle the nobles and the peasantry and any crisis that threatens us. I know a damn lot more than Cadance, that's for sure. The magma was overflowing, and Sunset finally understood what it was. But she had never felt such anger for her mother before. Never this level of resentment, never this volume of hatred. It's that kind of arrogance that holds you back, Sunset! Celestia's overbearing presence made Sunset feel wilt like a flower exposed to too much heat. This is not a competition. I'm not judging to see who is the better pony. I'm trying to turn you both into future rulers. Celestia's fire receded, but now it was Sunset's turn to blaze. Of course it's not a competition, because clearly she's winning. She spreads a little love around, and suddenly she's an alicorn. She gets adopted to be your niece. I fight my way to the top, and strain my magic day after day, and somehow Blue Blood is more royal than me. Celestia's eyes softened. Sunset. No! Celestia couldn't stop. She couldn't turn the flow of hatred back into the volcano of her emotions. Her heart was beating too fiercely to allow Celestia to try and banish this up with a simple, I'm sorry. I swore to you I would work hard and make you proud. I kept my end of the promise, didn't I? Yet Cadance comes swooping in and steals everything. You told me I had a grand destiny. You said I would rule Equestria by your side someday. You will, Sunset. Then what about Luna? Probably tears found their way out of the corners of her eyes. Why is it the longer I stay here, the more I get something to decide? Is my destiny really just to stay here, sister? Am I not good enough to be family? Is that it? You told me you loved me. You called me your daughter. Were those just words to you? Sunset, cease this foolish talk at once! Celestia's voice retained its firmness, but her tone of sympathy had returned. I love you, Sunset. You know that. I know you do. But you're too clouded by delusions of grandeur to see it clearly. Celestia's voice quivered for a moment. I am not a prize to be won, Sunset. You can't have me all to yourself. But you're the only pony I want, and the only one I need! Sunset dropped to her knees. Her anger began to harden as he looked up at Celestia with sparkling eyes. I love you, Mother. No pony else loves you as much as I do. We were destined to be together. Our key marks are identical. Our power is greater than anyone else. That's why I want to be an Alicorn, so I can stand by your side for all eternity. Mother and daughter ruling Equestria together. Celestia bowed her head. Sunset, being an Alicorn is not synonymous with immortality. But you could do that, can't you? Sunset's grin split from ear to ear. I will not make you immortal, Sunset, nor will I make you an Alicorn. Sunset stared up at her, smiled quickly, evaporating. Why? She whispered, Why? Why? Celestia bowed her head lower, being flowing from her face. I love you, Sunset. Truly I do. Then make me family! Make me an Alicorn! Show me out to the world! I will bear your name proudly, more proudly than anyone else. You don't need Cadance. You don't need Luna. You only need me. I'm the strongest unicorn in the world, and I demand you make me an Alicorn! No! Celestia smashed a gilded hoof into the carpet, cracking the marble belief. You are not ready, and if this is the path you wish to follow, perhaps you never will be. Celestia's voice shook. What are you saying? Celestia looked up from behind her ethereal curtain of mane, eyes flooded with tears. I have let my love for you cloud my judgment for too long, Sunset. This meeting is not about our relationship, or whether you can ascend. Your actions have injured another equine. You put her in mortal danger, and I need to know. There was a slightest plea in her voice. Do you feel any regret? Sunset drank Celestia's image in. She wanted to lie. She wanted to say yes. She was regretful and sorry and everything would go back to the way she was supposed to be. But kneeling in Celestia's presence, feeling her overpowered aura, Sunset could not find the strength to do it. She turned her head. No, Mother, I do not. The hall's empty air cracked to choke both of them, trying to get them to speak. Sunset had no other words to say, none to defend herself, and no more to accuse Celestia with. Very well. Celestia's voice was thicker than lead. If that is how you feel, Sunset, then I'm afraid I have nothing left to teach you. Sunset sucked her head up, eyes wired to glass windows, pupils almost non-existent. What? Celestia had a wing blocking her face. You refuse to accept harmony and friendship, opting merely for power. I cannot teach you if you no longer want to learn, Sunset. It is clear to me you need to find your own path, one that does not consist of only trying to please me. Kicking out over one mistake? Over Cadenza? She'll be fine, won't she? You said so yourself. That is not the point, Sunset! You have disobeyed my rules several times and shown me you care not for what happens to your fellow ponies. Those are not actions of a princess. Those are not even the actions of a decent equine! Sunset's voice rose. This isn't fair! You can't do this to me! I'm Sunset Shimmer! I'm the heir to the throne! I'm your daughter! No, you're not! Celestia bowed. Your name may be Sunset Shimmer, but you are heir to nothing! You are not the daughter I tried to raise! All of the air left Sunset's lungs. She doubled over, suffocating on Celestia's words while her heart bled from innumerable cracks, crumbled to pieces, each jagged point stabbing her in the chest. This couldn't be happening. Not to her. Sunset's eyes twitched. Her own mother was abandoning her? After everything Sunset had tried to do for her? You don't mean that. Sunset croaked, her eyes fixed on the carpet. You can't mean that. Sunset looked up, only to find Celestia's back turned towards her. I won't menace you, Sunset. Celestia's voice barely made it through the screaming turmoil of Sunset's minds. But you are no longer welcome in the castle. I tried my best, but you seem insistent on walking this path. Perhaps this will teach you a much-needed lesson. Sunset sat there, her entire body convulsing as a storm in her mind raged on. This was happening. She was being denied everything. No, I'm supposed to be a princess. She doesn't believe me anymore. Being replaced, she's scared of me. Mother, you can't do this. I love you. Mother, Sunset finally drew a breath. You can't do this! You can't! Her eyes danced in a lake of brilliant light, being whipped around, caught in its own hurricane. I won't let you! She screamed. But wrapped in a ball of fury, her pain roared forth from her horn and blazed across the room, leaving burnt carpet and broken tiles in its wake. Celestia turned and deflected with a huff, sending the attacker to the wall. It melted on contact. She hovered on the floor, her own blaze the afternoon sun. Do not trifle with me, Sunset Shimmer! Celestia's voice echoed through eternity. You may be able to harness the sun's energy, but I still have powers you can only dream of! Sunset fell back, a quiver in the shadow Celestia cast. Before, her aura had been overpowering, yet had not tried to smother and strangle Sunset. Now Celestia's aura consumed all, as mighty as the sun itself. Almost seen by an insect challenging a giant, a distant star compared to the full glory of the radiant sun. Celestia closed her eyes, dropped to the floor, ethereal mane hanging limp, almighty aura gone. Leave, Sunset, she said wearily. You are dismissed. With a gait that showed her true age, she turned and walked toward the door in the back. Fine! Go! Sunset yelled, choking back sobs. Leave me like everybody else! I don't need you, and when your insane sister comes back and throws the world into darkness, don't come crying to me! As he watched Celestia's retreating form pay her no mind. Did you hear me? You'll rue the city, Celestia! You'll rue it! Celestia continued to ignore her. Sunset felt the last of the sun's rays vanish from the shattered remains of her heart. Bitter chill replacing it. She bit down her lip, building up the coming scream until it was crescendo in her throat. As the Celestia exited the room, Sunset's final words tore through her and shook the throne room. I hate you! Sunset watched the film on the page slow to a halt, becoming just a picture again. Warm tears poured down her face, yet she knew they weren't really hers. Not fully, anyway. So Celestia kicked me. Her out because she loved her too much? Sunset's throat felt raw, so he just finished watching that horrible conversation with Celestia, instead of watching it. That was a key factor, yes? Luna said. That Sunset was prepared to do anything and everything it took to become an Alicorn, believing Celestia would place her above all others as he did. She wanted to be the only one Celestia paid attention to. Why not just throw her in prison, then? Why let her walk away like that? Luna looked down at her with a soft expression. It is not a crime to love somebody, Sunset. And as she and my sister loved her too. Even 1,000 years. So it's not me to lock another family member away. Sunset fell silent, waited the tears still clinging to her eyelashes. She set the book away and pulled out another one titled Everfree. She now knew why Vesper loathed Celestia so much. Now she just needed to prove they weren't connected, in the way Sunset thought. The monster flashed behind her eyes, and she started violently before throwing the book open. It had been well over a year, at least Sunset thought it had. She lost count some time ago. She only stuck into town to steal some food when she grew tired of eating berries and roots. Sunset sat in the decrepit ruins deep within the Everfree ruins. She hadn't intended to run where she had fled to Canterlot. She just followed her hoes and they led her there. It'd take her 5 minutes to find the library. Old books, some molding, but most of them weathering the ages, were stacked on shelves and tossed into piles, gathering copious amounts of dust while they were waiting for someone to care for them again. Sunset happily obliged, spending every minute of every day reading whatever she could. She left most of the castle untouched, taking small jaunts from around the old corridors. She was in an exploring mood, hoping to find something else of interest. She found plenty of secret passages, and even a large organ, but yet nothing fascinated her more than the treasure trove of ancient knowledge laying back in the library proper. Still, even as she read to her heart's content day in and day out, felt painfully empty. Part of Sunset hoped Celestia would find her, and she would come and apologize and take Sunset back. Or Sunset would wake up and find it all been just a dream. But he knew no such thing would happen. Upon her initial arrival, Sunset sifted through the ancient books, hoping to find a way to take revenge against Celestia. Rage and sorrow still burned through her, fiery storm upon her heart. She had unearthed several books hidden deep in the archives. Spell books and lore she was sure Celestia had not intended for most ponies to see, or even forgotten they existed. As time passed, Sunset's urge to harm Celestia waned, replaced by a gnawing pain to ate her from the inside out. She missed Celestia. Sunset wanted to go back and beg for forgiveness. The last conversation would explode in her head whenever she thought about making the attempt, and a fresh wave of fury would wash over her, burying any remorseful feelings. Besides, with everything I said and did, she'd never take me back. Sunset sat at an old bean desk, and she treated with the utmost care, lest it collapse in arm. The last day of light of day fell upon her through large fissures in the ceiling. She saw another book and levitated back on the shelf she found it on. A year here, as she had gone through most of them already. All she would do to finish. All the knowledge she had acquired put her no further to becoming an alicorn. Maybe it's all just pointless. Sunset yawned and rubbed her eyes. She looked back at the two-toned sun adorning her flank. What's my destiny then? What am I supposed to be if I can't be an alicorn? If I can't be Celestia's daughter? A sharp pain shot through her chest. Mother? Daughter? She could hardly use those words without feeling pain. It's always followed by a hollow longing for time past. Celestia had been everything. Without her, Sunset had nothing. Nothing to strive for, nothing to live for. She blinked furiously, with those thoughts crowding her head again. It's time for bed. She made her way when the two thrones sat at the end of the crumbling hall. A pillow and a blanket were set up in the golden chair. Sunset settled down onto them. Her eyes only closed for a few moments before they snapped open. She sat upright, staring transfixed at the other pony across the room. Princess Celestia smiled sadly at her. Princess, the rest of her throat died in her throat. All things that would never be able to convey the stinging pain of the fractures that still marred her heart. She stood up and stretched a hoof into the void, separating them. She knew she would never be able to touch Celestia again. Celestia continued to stand in the threshold, smiling her sad smile, never saying a word. Slowly, words crawled out of Sunset's throat, fading to quiet her. Can I come home? Celestia's head dipped, but did not rise again. She turned away and disappeared like a vapor. Sunset stood there with a hoof outstretched, a loving statue among the gold throne. She did not move until the first light of day struggled through the castle rocks. She had a plan now. She would fix everything. Quite simple, actually. Sunset didn't know why she didn't think of it before. A simple time spell. She would go back in time and warn her past self not to make any stupid mistakes. She would tell her not to trick Cadance and, as much as it would hurt her, to wait until Celestia decided she was ready to be an alicorn. As much as she detested having Cadance steal away Celestia's time and love, some of it was better than none of it. It was the only way, the last remaining option. Sunset could not go back as things stood. Too much had been said, and her mother didn't love her anymore. Aha! She finally flipped to her desired page. Star Swirl's basic theory of time travel. If it worked, the future would be overwritten, as would she, replaced by whatever actions her past self would take. But that was fine with Sunset, so as long as she could be with Celestia again. She read the spell over repeatedly, etching it word for word in her head until she could recite it backwards and forwards. According to the text, it could only be done once, so Sunset had no room for error. When she was finished, she walked out to the castle courtyard and waited for the sun to rise. She would need to be at her absolute strongest to pull this off. She figured 5 years back was plenty of time to warn herself about Cadance. Perhaps her past self would work harder then and ascend before Cadance showed up. The sun slowly crested over the treetops, painting the sky vibrant hues of pink and orange before the sunlight hit the courtyard floor. Sunset braced herself, stepping forward to the radius of light and absorbing the sun's power. It flowed through her, filling her with adrenaline and giddiness. Everything would be fine. Soon, everything would be as it should be. Her horn thrown with power, spell building to its apex. She could feel time subverting itself to her will. Not even the laws of the universe could stop her from achieving her destiny. The sky continuously screamed in pain and cheered in amazement as the loudest boom Sunset ever heard ripped over her world. Her heart beat jumped to triple speed. She lost control of the spell as the shockwaves slammed into her. Magic wrapped around her in an attempt to full body strangle, drawing her to the right. An all-consuming light replacing the rainbow ring. The sky was the last thing she saw. The splitting headache was Sunset's wake-up call. Dirt coated her tongue like a blanket. She quickly spat it out. She hissed, gripped her pounding head after the sudden movement. She curled up into a ball to hide her eyes from the sun's grinning glare. What happened? She moaned. Once her headache had died down, she got to her hooves and looked around. She was still in the old castle courtyard. Nothing looked like it had changed. Had her spell work? It was impossible to tell from where she was. So Sunset gathered herself and marched into the ever-free forest. Once she could see Canterlot, she could teleport to the remaining distance. What had that ring of light been? She wondered if she navigated the forest. And prayed it had disrupted her spell too badly. If it worked, she only had set amount of time to give her past self advice before her time was up. She snapped back to the future. At least that was the ideal outcome. She reached the edge of the forest. A tiny backwater town of Ponyville to her left, and Canterlot to her right. She manipulated the sun's energy again and made the jump, appearing in a small alley in the city's upper end. First thing to reach her ears was the loud chorus of cheering. Trumpets and drums were playing regal fanfare, and confetti was drifting on her mind. Did she come back to her previous Under the Sun celebration? Sunset followed the noise out of the alley, down the empty streets, so she arrived at the main road. The scene was positively crowded with ponies. The noise was deafening. It clearly had the pomp and circumstance Sunset expected from the Summer Sun celebration. Yet, there was no raised platform where Celestia could have raised the sun, no banners bearing her cutie mark. Instead, the banners bore a purple star with smaller white stars around it. A golden chariot made its way down the path, pulled by a procession of guards. And sitting within that chariot was not Princess Celestia or Cadence. The mare was a purple and violet mane, and a pink highlight running through it. Her wings displayed for all to see, and a crown with a setting identical to her cutie mark, sitting above her horn. Sunset slipped her way forward, the rest of the crowd having vanished from her mind. She moved up only a line of guards separated her from this nightmare. Sunset looked at the purple princess, jerked her head to the castle balcony where Celestia stood, prouder than Sunset had ever seen. And Sunset simmered died. Betrayal, despair, and anger all surrounded her, raised their sharpened talons and bore down on her relentlessly. They slaughtered, maimed, and murdered her again and again. She could make no noise. She couldn't scream or breathe or even think. No one was aware of the pony dying right in front of them. In the end, her pure emotions tossed Sunset into a black hole, her body consumed by a vortex of pure hate. Sunset continued to watch the procession. The new princess surrounded by her entourage. But she saw next to nothing. Nothing seemed to register her anymore. Perhaps the pink one had waved at her as Sunset turned away, but she did not care. Her body moved at an irregular pace, movements jerking and uneven, like a puppet with broken springs. Princess Twilight Sparkle! Behold the newest princess! Princess Twilight Sparkle! Sunset mouthed. The words burned her throat as she doubled over in pain. Princess Twilight Sparkle! She picked herself up and kept walking, returning to the quiet alley where she had first entered. Princess Twilight Sparkle. Sunset broke into a grin. Princess Twilight Sparkle. Is this my replacement? Celestia, is this your newest favorite? Do you love her, Celestia? Do you? She broke into a fit of laughs and clutched her side. I wonder what she has that I don't. Are you going to tell me, Celestia, or do I have to figure it out on her own? You love her, don't you? More than me, I bet. She never disappointed you, did she? Well, I hate her. I hate her so much. And I hate you too, Celestia. I hate all of you. I hate all of you so much. Sunset pressed the hoof against her face, still laughing. That's fine, because you're all going to love me. I'm going to become your only princess. You'll be so proud, Celestia. Those will be your last words. I'm going to kill you. You and Twilight Gates, Luna, and any pony that gets in my way. Sunset fell into her haunches and laughed. She laughed in that alley and laughed to herself. She laughed until only tears were left. Sunset snapped the book shut with more force than needed. Tears flowed down her grinning face, unable to stop. Luna reached a hoof out to her. Sunset. Fine! Sunset smacked her hoof away. Just fine. Luna looked at her sharply. Sunset, perhaps it's best we end here tonight. No! Sunset's look was wild. An animal trapped in a cage looking for a way out. I need to know. I can't go on not knowing. What happened? What happened to me? I need to know! Sunset was certain Luna was going to say no. But as a cryptic advice the Alicorn Princess loved to give. Instead, she gave Sunset a look of pity. Very well. I successfully hurry. We are running out of time.